Kickoff at Neyland Stadium just 5 days away. Tennessee's home opener against ETSU coming up on Saturday, along with Patrick Brown. I'm Ryan Callahan for this Vols 24/7 No-Huddle. Tennessee getting back on the practice field today, coming off the season opening win over Syracuse, and some bad news on the injury front leading up to that game. We obviously saw several guys leave Saturday's game with injuries, but the big ones, cornerback Rickey Gibson, one of the starters, obviously a junior and a reliable guy in the secondary, out for an extended period of time, according to Coach Josh Heupel. And then also starting defensive tackle, senior Jaxson, out for at least this week's game against ETSU. He just said out for Saturday, so we'll see if it's anything beyond that. But not great news for Tennessee, especially that loss of Rickey Gibson, where Tennessee was already missing Jermod McCoy at corner.
Yeah, it's funny though. These two positions are. I mean, you still probably feel a little bit better at cornerback though, don't you, Ryan? I mean, just based on what you saw on Saturday from Colton Hood and freshman Ty Redmond, who Josh Heupel had really good things to say about afterwards. But yeah, I mean, Gibson's one of Tennessee's best players. You take him and McCoy. I mean, those guys were so influential for last season's defense, and at least for the next little bit, this season's defense will have to replicate that with a couple of different guys. But Colton Hood's, I know we talked him up a lot this offseason. A lot of people in the program did as well. He certainly lived up to the hype. 3 pass breakups. I believe he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week.
Yep. Ryan,
with the 3 pass breakups and the scoop and score touchdown. But Ty Redmond's a guy that really flew under the radar. Was an early commitment, right? Mm-hmm. 3-star guy. But he has come in, and Heupel was, singing his praises too, talking about how he's smart, competitive, talented, and really sort of praised how he's grown throughout his first season in the program. So those are going to be the guys. They're going to have to play. I mean, I guess behind him they've got maybe like Trey Poteet's probably maybe the next guy.
You could, now the one thing I wonder about, you could move Jalen McMurray back out to corner, and if you're willing to throw Boo Carter or someone else back in there at the star position, you could go that route, and that would at least give you 3 guys to count on at corner. So we'll see if Tennessee adjusts there. Yeah,
McMurray played pretty well at star. You had to say, making the impact from that position, but you probably feel better about cornerback than you do defensive tackle, because they got some guys that have got to grow there, and some guys got banged up too. So. And you're already without David Hobbs, so that's really probably your number 2 or 1A, or one of your starters and your top reserve are going to be out for at least this game. Shouldn't be an issue against ETSU. Might be a good chance for guys like Nathan Robinson to get a lot of playing time, Jamal Wallace, Ethan Utley. Behind him is probably Isaiah Campbell at this point. So
we saw Dominic Bailey get a lot of work at defensive tackle. We'll see if Tyree West or anyone else gets used in there, so they've kind of got to make it work at defensive tackle. Not an ideal situation.
Yeah, it's we hear it all the time, next man up, but that's sort of a mantra of this program, and they I think they do a pretty good job of developing guys, keeping them ready. I mean, we saw Nathan Robinson come out of nowhere and make a big impact on the game the other day, so they're going to need some guys to step up, and even some guys that were further down the depth chart, maybe at cornerback, some of those freshmen. They're going to have to be even more ready than maybe they were, thinking they were, 5th coming in, 5th on the depth chart when they were maybe going through bowl practices playoff practices last December. So, it's a tough blow, but you got who you got, and you got to go roll with them.
Obviously, the big question is, what does an extended period mean? So we'll have to wait and see. Are we talking half the season here? Is this just 4 or 5 weeks where maybe you can get someone like Rickey Gibson back for the Alabama game or something like that?
Maybe but certainly November if you're still in the playoff hunt for the stretch run. Yeah.
So certainly did not sound like something where he's going to be back soon, but we don't know exactly what that means just yet. So we'll have to wait and see about his recovery as we learn more about his injury. Some on the positive side, some talk about Tennessee's offensive line. We spoke with Jesse Perry, the redshirt freshman who made his first career start in Saturday's game. He made the kind of last-minute shift. He said he found out Saturday morning, and that's in line with what we'd heard before, that he would be starting in place of David Sanders Jr., the 5-star freshman. Played really well out there in his first start. He's a guy we heard a lot of good things about throughout the offseason. Well, he moved. Wendell Moy Jr. flipped from left guard to right guard. Sham Umarov went in the starting lineup at left guard. And Tennessee made it work and did it pretty seamlessly, I thought, with all the guys moving around.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest compliment from really the whole offense, is that Joey Aguilar didn't look like a guy who had just gotten here 3 months ago, and didn't look like Tennessee had, their offensive line had 4 new starters, and B, had to shuffle 3 positions, in the lead up to kickoff. We'll see about Sanders. It wasn't a major issue. He could be back this week, but certainly Perry's versatility, I think, is big, and credit those guys, as Josh Heupel said, for being able to handle the workload and be able to move around and shift and perform the way they did. But I think you got to credit Glenn Ellerby too, because they did a lot of mixing and matching in preseason camp, probably even going back to the spring. So as Heupel said, a lot of guys had a lot of practice reps, whether it was Moy flipping over to right guard, Jesse Perry kind of doing some tackle work as well to get them ready for those those contingency plans, right? That's a way, if you don't have a lot of depth, and I don't think Tennessee's offensive line I don't think they go past 7 deep right now.
Right.
That way you add some flexibility and you add some depth, you know, they probably expected to have to use one of those lineups at some point, maybe not the first game.
Yeah, not off the bat.
But you know, that's why you work on that stuff, and that's why you got to give guys time and practice to prepare for what they might have to do in games.
Impressive start to the season for Tennessee with the 19-point win over Syracuse. Now they'll ease into the home schedule with a game against an ETSU team that, to be fair to them, looked pretty good in their season opener. We'll see how much of a test they can give the Vols on Saturday at Neyland Stadium. For Patrick Brown, I'm Ryan Callahan.